Um, Sounds like we're
Sounds like
good.
we're good. Okay, I'm going to mute again.
Well, welcome and thank you for the invitation. I'm really grateful to speak with you all. Province One is small but mighty. We have support from all seven of our dioceses, which is really key. Not all provinces have this, which is something I've learned in my 2.5 years, sort of figuring out how do provinces work, and it's sort of they work differently in each area. And New England is really blessed with the desire to collaborate across our region. And so my work is collaborating with diocesan staff, and the work of the province is collaborating with diocesan staff, bishops, and volunteers from across the seven dioceses of New England. My role is the administrative staff person. So I'm a part-time employee of the province and I support the executive committee of the province. I do communications work and I provide individual and administrative support to networks involved in provincial ministry. Lately, I've been saying it's my role is to be the yes and guy. I take calls from people from across New England who've got this idea of something they want to do um, in their setting that maybe has grown larger than their diocesan sort of space for it, or they want to sort of do it on a different level, or they're just looking for a connection. And I can say, oh, well, so and so in Rhode Island is doing something similar. You should talk to them. And so in Western Massachusetts is doing something similar. And you should talk. And if you talk and you find that your sort of work is closely aligned and you want to do something larger for mission, we have a small grant fund that can support these collaborations. So that's just been really lovely, is just to take calls from people to connect them and then to say, and we can give you a little bit of money to support your work. Um, and so when two or more Episcopalians from two or more dioceses in Province One get together to do something for mission or ministry, we call that a ministry network. We're really expansive in how we define our networks. We say, really, I'm just happy to sort of claim anybody who wants to be associated with us, get good press that way, mostly. And wherever possible, I step back. I'm blessed to have been mentored several years ago by the very Reverend Amy McCreath, who's the dean of the cathedral in the Diocese of Massachusetts. She taught me when she was at her previous parish, she taught me the rule of three, which is for her, it was if a parishioner would come to her with an idea, she would say, come back to me with two more people, and then we'll sort of fully support it. So really building a collaboration of networks where because my work is part-time and it's really stretched between administration, communications, and ministry network support. Finding people across New England who want to work together and then equipping them with what they need rather than me running networks for the most part. And our networks, the active ones right now include our Deacons Network, a formation network, which has been sort of going forever and is um, currently co-led by Lene Peterson in New Hampshire, Emily Keniston, my predecessor as provincial coordinator in Maine, and Bird Tracy in Massachusetts. And the Formation Network has put on an annual conference for several years. And it's been really wonderful to collaborate with them. And we're looking to what that might look like in the future. Indigenous justice has also been a big network lately in this region, and I've been really supported by diocesan staff in all these networks, especially Indigenous justice. Martha Gardner in Diomass has been really helpful to like sort of do networking that she was already doing for her paid role and sort of help it become a provincial thing, not just a diocesan thing. We also have a racial justice network that meets quarterly. And we're talking about trying to rebuild a racial justice training that's New England specific, and that diocese can use for things like general convention requirements and other requirements for really all leaders, lay and ordained in the Episcopal Church to be trained in uh, racial reconciliation and justice work. And the other ministry, which is my sort of special project, is campus ministry and young adult ministry. And that network is just a monthly gathering of practitioners from across New England to connect. And I say it's my sort of special ministry because I separately serve as the Province One coordinator for young adult and campus ministry, which is a church-wide volunteer role on the staff officer for Young Adult and Campus Ministries Council of Advice and Consent. Um, so we have our little networks, and I think networks are really great. They're ways that the province really can support Episcopalians on the ground doing work, and it can support diocesan staff and sort of magnify their efforts. We also have a few larger collaborations in the diocese. The biggest one right now is our Province 1 School for Deacons. And so that's 6 of the 7 dioceses in New England use the Province 1 School for Deacons to form their deacons for ministry. And so it serves as the sort of training for deacons, and it serves as a place of community and just a way for these 6 of these dioceses to really not have to each put on a deacon formation program, but they can sort of collaborate on it. And so they are a sort of separate but nested entity. So I don't supervise it. I don't have any leadership role to the School for Deacons. It has its own board on which a member of the executive committee sits. But it does a really amazing amount of ministry, and we support it by giving it sort of a fiscal sponsorship that their budget can live within. The other one that we're currently in talks with is the Episcopal Path to Creation Justice. And so the Reverend Rachel Field, who addressed this gathering several years ago, I believe, she's been doing incredible ministry, building a project with collaborators across New England to do a parish-based program of creation justice formation. And so this is so parishes sort of move through this program. This is especially working with Margaret Bullitt Jonas. I think it's a 4-fold program that sort of trains parishes to look at creation justice in their context and get involved in those ministries. And they received a large grant from us last year. They also received a large grant from the churchwide Office of Creation Care. And they just finished their pilot year, and they're looking to figure out what it looks like next year, how they're going to be structured. And we're moving forward with good faith efforts to try to make it work, to sort of help them become something similar to the Deacon School. And so if they can sort of line up their funding sources, which basically means they're looking for diocesan support, we can provide the collaborative effort to sort of give them a sort of a home to do their work from. And so that's a really exciting collaboration, that we have these sort of smaller ministry network-based collaborations, which is sort of the bread and butter. But then occasionally there's a special project that makes sense, that is sort of governed and run regionally rather than sort of living in a diocese. And also dioceses sometimes do provincial things that I don't really know about. And that's always fun when I find out that, there's a long-standing meeting of, officers or staff people from a particular role in the diocese, and they meet provincially, and I learn about that. I'm like, oh, this is excellent. This is sort of happening even without any hands-on work. People want to work together in New England. And so one of my goals in the past year has been to find out more of these and just to say, hey, not trying to own this, but happy to support in any way, whether that's showing up, whether that's equipping with grants or communications or administrative support. I think it's just been a joy to just get to know New England Episcopalians and to sort of connect and really support them in their work. I feel like, especially at a time where it's hard to see the way out, some of the messes we're in, there's like a nice little piece of work that I can sort of tend to. That I don't need to see the way out. I just sort of see the work ahead of me. 2024 will be a leadership transition year for us. Bishop Doug Fisher in Western Massachusetts is our provincial president, and he started his presidency in 2021, and his term as president will end. Olive Swinsky is our vice president. She's a lay leader from Rhode Island, and she's currently discerning whether to stand for election as president. So if she does, then we'll be looking for a bishop for vice president. If she doesn't, we'll be looking for sort of both leadership positions, both a bishop and a clergy or lay priest, deacon, or lay person for those 2 roles. So that could be a very substantial transition in the board leadership of the province. And we'll also be electing a new at-large executive committee member. And all those elections will be in the fall. In the meantime, 2 really exciting upcoming events are on Thursday, the 23rd. there will be a celebration of the life and ministry of the Reverend Dr. Polly Murray, um, who is the first Black woman ordained a priest in the Episcopal Church. And she will also, or sorry, and this event is being put on by our colleagues at the Diocese of Rhode Island, who reached out and said, we want to make this a provincial event. So that for me felt like a really great sign of collaboration, that sort of there was a desire to make this region, not just sort of owned by one diocese. But really, it is a sort of Rhode Island really organized and made this happen. The other event coming up is the Wednesday after, May 29th. We'll be holding our provincial synod, which we recently started calling Provincial Conference. And at that event, which is open to the public, we will be addressed by the President of the House of Deputies, and there will be a discussion sort of space for the General Convention deputies from New England. We had I think, good time with it last 3 years ago, no, 2 years ago. So I think we're going to sort of repeat that. And then afterwards, there'll be a business session where the elected delegates and bishops will elect a clergy representative to Executive Council of the Episcopal Church. We're hoping to return to some sort of in-person gathering in late 2024 or 2025, but we'll see how it goes. I think we're finally sort of there's some energy to get back together in person regionally. And so I'll sort of close by saying provincial ministry in 2024 has been finding the in-between places in our church where ministry is happening, in the cracks between diocesan ministries and church-wide support, in the bonds of collaboration and collegiality across our New England diocese, and helping it to flourish through connection and prayer. And I'm happy to take questions.
Thank you so much, Will. I just need to tag on my thanks to you. I've said this before in other communications, but for this group that Will, when he became Province 1 coordinator, had reached out to me, and we had a Zoom meeting to discuss Episcopal Church women, sort of their history, their journey. And Will just said, whatever I can do to help you. We're not technically a network because we are our own entity, but we are networking within the province. And Will has been incredibly supportive. Anything I send him for the Province 1 Synod, I call it Synod to distinguish from ECW. Newsletter, it goes out immediately, and I just cannot tell you how much gratitude I had for being able to partner with Will since he came on. So if people want to unmute for questions, please. Anything Will covered that you would like more information about? And Will has put in the chat a few links, one to the provincial conference on May 29th and the Polly Murray celebration on May 23rd. And I'll make sure that those links go out with a follow-up communication for everybody.
And Susan, I'll say it's
it's
been
been
great
great
having you as a
having you as a
collaborator.
collaborator.
And
And
I have to
I have
say,
to say,
Synod every time I mention it in any group that's not
that's
specifically
specifically
that's one,
one
because
because
nobody else
nobody
chooses.
else.
So
So
it's
it's
conference, Synod.
conference Senate.
I say
I
both.
say both.
Okay, thanks. I know there was a change in the bylaws. I'm not quite up on it, but yeah, it's just confusing because we talk about Province 1 ECW as if it's yeah. So I just like to clarify that. Any other questions? Any questions from other provinces? Because we have other provinces on the meeting today. Anything that people wanted to share or follow up on? We have a few minutes. I have to say it's very quiet when everyone is muted.
Good
Good
morning. This is
morning. This is
Hartford, St.
Hartford,
Louis,
St. Louis,
Hartford.
Hartford.
Just a quick
Just a quick
question
question
for Will.
for Will.
You can hear
Can
me.
hear me?
Um,
Um,
we're doing
we're
some,
doing
our
some, our
ECW
EW
doing some
doing some
collaborating
collaborating
with the
city
community
community
school.
school.
Would that
Would that
constitute
constitute
participation
participation
with
with
you and
you and
talking to
talking
you
to you
any
any
assistance that
assistance
we
that
can
we can
get or
get or
help?
help?
Sorry, there is a
Sorry,
bit,
there is a bit.
the echo's
The
back.
echo's back.
Right.
I know.
Yeah.
I think it's
So
her
I'm
connection. It's spotty.
right. I
Right.
said,
I said.
what I'm
What I'm
asking
asking
about is
about is
collaboration or
collaboration or
partnership
partnership
between
between
an
an
ECW
ECW
group and a
group and a
community
community
group.
group.
Does
Is
that
that
the
the
same
same
type of
type of
collaborations you're
collaborations you're
looking at?
looking at?
I think
I
the way
think
we
the way
do
we
it
do it
is
is
if it's
if it's
Episcopalians
Episcopalians
in New
in New
England,
England,
in two or
in
more
two or more
dioceses,
dioceses,
we'll accept
we'll
a
accept the
grant
grant
request, and
request, and
as long as
as
we have
long
the
as we have the
funds, we'll
funds, we'll
usually
usually
follow
follow
through with it.
through with it.
Um,
Um,
our
Okay,
grants are
got it.
okay,
open.
got it.
Got it.
Got it.
Okay.
Okay. I think there's some information on the website, the Province One Conference website about collaborations. And I think, correct me if I'm wrong, Will, but it needs to be two or more dioceses. So it's intended to connect dioceses together. So if if is Evelyn, it was Evelyn that was speaking, is that correct? I think so.
Yes. Yes.
If it's a community group within your diocese and your church, I'm not sure that that would qualify, but Will, you can speak to that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
it's
two or more
two or more
Episcopalians and two or
Episcopalians
more
and two or more
dioceses,
dioceses,
um,
um,
which is
which
sort of
is
how
sort of
we
how we
determine to
determine
allocate the
allocate the
funds.
funds.
Last
Last
year we did
year
a
we did
one
a one
diocese
diocese
grant
grant
as a
as a
trial.
trial.
We just
We
had
just
an
had an
extra
extra
money in the budget
the
that
budget
year.
that year.
Nobody took it
Nobody
up,
took it up,
and we
and we had
all those funds
those
for
funds for
just
just
additional
additional
multiple
multiple
dioceses.
dioceses.
Amen.
Great. Okay, well, if there are no more questions, I think we'll move on. Will, you're of course welcome to stay. Um, I know you're following the bishop election in Massachusetts.